Midweek, hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. We are Joy News. Thanks for choosing us. We are independent, fearless, and credible. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, we put a spotlight on black spots, a bacteria fast ravaging mango farms in the Yellow Krobo municipality, forcing farmers to sell off their farms.
It's discouraging. To be frank, it's discouraging because you invest a lot, you invest so much, and then at the end of the season, when you are ready to harvest, you see BBS destroying your fruits.
Well, stay with us here on The Pulse as we find out what the municipal authorities are doing to address the problem. Also, in this package, Ghana's food security generates heated debate on the floor of Parliament. We'll cross you over shortly live to Parliament to bring you all the juicy updates as the Finance Minister dares to address the House in the next 24 hours. And there are calls for increased research as well into trends that are directly linked with natural disasters in Ghana as the world marks the International Meteor Day today. Don't forget that The Pulse is always brought to you by Global Communities Digny Lua Affordable Safe Sanitation. We are streaming this afternoon live on YouTube and all of our social media handles. It's JoyNews on TV. Don't forget to tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sugan. Do stay for details. And this afternoon, mango farmers in the Yellow Krobo municipality still have started selling off their farmlands following the invasion of a disease that is ravaging large tracts of farmlands there. Known as the bacteria black spots, the bacteria actually attacks leaves, twigs, and as well as the mango fruit itself. The farmers say they have no option but to sell their farmlands because of the high cost associated with maintaining the farms in the wake of this disease. JoyNews' Samuel Kujo Brace has the rest of the story.
It's discouraging. To be frank, it's discouraging because you invest a lot, you invest so much, and then at the end of the season, when you are ready to harvest, you see BBS destroying your fruits. And most of the farmers have started selling their farms because of this particular BBS issue.
Obed Amevo owns this 10-acre mango farm here at Somenya. Mango farming has been his livelihood in the past 15 years. Obed says all looked good until recently when disaster struck. A disease called the bacterial black spot, popularly known as BBS, attacked farms in Yellow Krobo and its environs, and his was not spared. Last year alone, he lost more than half of his investment to this disease.
This BBS issue has been a problem for all the farmers, all mango farmers for the past years. And surprisingly, we've been making all the noise, but for instance, last season I was supposed to harvest for HPW after farm assessment. When they did the farm assessment, I was hitting almost 36 tons. I was only able to harvest I got just about 11 tons.
What?
Yes. And they can testify to that, HPW can testify to that. The association also did this assessment, and that is what is happening. Even if you can look on the ground now, you see, this is as a result of last season. And nobody knows what will happen this season because the rains have not started yet. But once the rain starts, nobody knows what will happen. It's really bad. It's really making us lose a lot. That is the truth. You see the fruits we have here. Look, these nice fruits. It has started. Give it 2 days. By the time you come back, the crack is just, and the whole fruit will fall on the floor. So this is the problem. Seriously, this is the problem. It used to be profitable. Some years back, it was very good, very profitable because we didn't have these problems. It used to be very, very profitable. If somebody tells you it is not.
Somenya is arguably Ghana's biggest hub for mango cultivation. Unlike other communities in Ghana, mango farmers here are able to harvest twice in a year. So this BBS is something that is causing a lot of headaches here. Experts say bacterial black spot is a serious mango disease that may result in a 50 to 80% reduction in fruit production. Daniel Asoji is also a mango farmer who knows this disease so well.
Preferably when you come and then you scout for the mangoes. You come and then you look on the mango and then you see the symptoms. For now, you can see these symptoms over here. You see some water dripping. Sometimes it might be as a result of cutlass cut. But as a farmer who has been doing who have been in the farming for a long time, when you look at this side, you see that there's a mark over here before the water is dripping out. So these are the symptoms of the BBS. So these are direct symptoms of BBS. So normally it cracks like this, the water drips. And then when it rains, with humid conditions, then they begin to multiply. You see this as one. The next 2 days or 3 days when you come, you see another mark here, you see another mark here, and then you can identify that, yeah, this is indeed BBS. Yes.
So if I see, or if a farmer sees something like this on his or her farm, which is bacterial black spot, you call BBS, what can he or she do to prevent the spread?
Yeah, there are a whole lot of things you have to do. Basically, you don't have to wait for it to get to this stage before you start the treatment. Beginning of the season, we have some treatment that we do as preventive measures. We do copper-based fungicide. You know, when you spray copper, it sometimes heals the wound, but you don't have to let it get to this stage before you do the copper application. We have some applications we do, preferably the start of the season. You start with the copper-based fungicide, and then you apply it about in an interval of 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the weather conditions. Sometimes when it gets to this stage, there's nothing you can do. Okay. Yes, but you have to use some preventive measures before it gets to this stage. But you know, we have what we call the pre-harvest interval. Sometimes you don't have to wait for it to mature before you start the application, because the chemical has the chemicals we use, that the copper-based fungicide, they have pre-harvest interval. The interval that you have to spray before it gets matured, and then the mangoes will be safe for consumption. So you have to time the season, or the time. You have to look at the time well. Maybe, you know, this mango like this is about 2 months to maturity. So for now, you can do your copper-based application. But when it's matured, I think there's nothing you can do. You just have to leave it for it to go waste.
Obed, who has been grappling with this disease, says the situation is not making mango farming attractive any longer. Sadly, he says many of his compatriots have started selling off their farms.
It's discouraging. To be frank, it's discouraging because you invest a lot when it comes to mango business. It is capital intensive, that everybody knows. You invest so much, and then at the end of the season, the later part of the season when you are ready to harvest, you see BBS destroying your fruits. And most of the farmers have started selling off their farms because of this particular BBS issue. That is the result. They always tell you, when you ask them, they will tell you, look, BBS is making me lose, and that is why they are all selling. So that is the problem. The problem is the BBS. For now, almost every farmer knows how to handle the others, but BBS is the only problem because there's no solution to it as of now. And to be frank, you waste money, you spend money on your farm. It's not like you waste it. You spend money on your farm. If the association tells you how much you have to spend on an acre to be able to make it, and you spend all this money, multiply, if you are supposed to spend, let's say, roughly 6,000 on an acre for the whole season, and you have 20 acres, multiply and see. And then at the end of the season, all this goes down the drain. You harvest and you're not even able to make what you are supposed to make. Then what are you doing in the business? That is how come we are all selling our lands. That is the problem. It is. If you come here when we are entering the harvest season, like a week or two to get into the harvest season, you realize that show you the fruits on the floor is devastating and heartbreaking. It's not encouraging for a new person to come into the business and see these things. Well, as a businessman, sometimes you have your regrets, but as a businessman, you need to keep taking the risks until the solution is done. But to be frank, most of the farmers have regretted.
The young farmer, Obed, says they have been searching for a lasting solution to the situation, but they are yet to get help. He says the farmers are unsure about what to do next.
If they tell you they are not aware, it's a lie. We have told them. They have been to our farms. We've gone to meetings with them. The association have made all the noise that it's supposed to make. We are only at the mercy of NGOs and processors who comes to do trainings for us. And even those trainings are to manage it and not to prevent it or to even cure it. It is just to manage it, to reduce it. But even that, the chemicals are expensive. We are trying to do what we can do, but it's bad. Because what I don't understand is, if when black spot started in cocoa, they were all rushing there. Why we are also fighting for the same problem and they are not rushing here? That's the question I always keep asking myself. Yes, we've had discussions with Dr. Bila. The universities are there, Dr. Hongako, and they all tell us there's nothing they can do about it. We only have to manage it. That is the trainings they give us. They tell you, for now, they're only asking us to use copper-based fungicides to manage it. And they're also doing what they can do with the trials. We are hoping that they come out with something.
With the cost of farm input soaring, farmers are struggling. Gideon Do Bokome is the chairman of Yellow Krobo Mango Farmers Association.
The biggest challenge is funds. You see, we need funds and we need research, proper research to be done. Currently, this one, the chemicals, when they bring it, we are doing it. You see somebody is doing somewhere, someone is doing this one somewhere. But we need the government to get involved. There is that Greek institutions to get involved. The universities should get involved, because that is the only way we can solve it. Because it's the whole Ghana, not only it's the whole Ghana. The whole mango industry is on its nails. And if we don't solve it, the system will collapse. We will lose our investment, and to be honest, a lot of people will be unemployed. So why don't we invest into it? You understand? Yes. So that's the biggest thing is funds, and then the research works. We've gone to them. Even I can even give. Currently, there's one person sponsoring some research. Even that one, Dr. Oga is doing it. They are always about funds. How the research money? Where do we get money to do the research? That's all they are talking about. You know, we are even trying to see if possible we can go into organic, and even that one we are having challenges because we need an expert to help us in the organic. Even so some of our members are trying it, but the issue is it's all boiled down to funds and the research officers to help us out. That's all.
So in the meantime, how expensive is it to control this infestation?
Very expensive, because you have to buy Bion. A liter of Bion is, I think, is about 1,000 cedis. You need to buy copper. Every 2 weeks you have to spray copper. You know, every 2 weeks you have to make sure you interchange copper. Both system copper, you have to interchange copper. And the more you do it, so the more you are having copper on the fruit. And that's the only way you can prevent it. And within 4 weeks you have to stop using the copper.
The impact of this disease is not only felt on the farms. Traders involved in mango business are all crying of the debilitating effects of the BBS. Eno has been selling mangoes for the past 13 years. She recounts how the disease is affecting her home.
The BBS no one who got Tobago, who won't say a bripanepro. Until Ubato, you know, the Aya Papa do woman now by a selection. Na Yaoka. Oh, and no, na. Ama ye way no ye market no abadan kakra no enti momwae se akoto mango no begu ho a na ne nyina ye yenka uto mango 50 million ubeto na aka 10 million pe ti sika nyina ye basa ti aban wo ye mobo na beboa ye na ye ho kire ye nkom akom be ku ye ne ye ma aban wo ye mobo wae akufado ye srew edi kotodwe pauchew beche na BBS haye ye kru no mo kwato eduro ubekwa kwato eduro be 100 million udi ba be spray mango no na ninyi na aya oka mango ni titu aban hu ya mobo ne be boaye.
Even bigger companies that rely on the mango farmers here for their raw materials are all feeling the pinch of the effect of this disease. Yao Ening is the mango superintendent of HPW Fresh and Dry Limited, a processing company based in Adesso. He says this disease has taken a heavy toll on the operations.
The BBS normally affects the farmers and then the buyers. First, it normally drops some of the fruits on ground. And then when the processors also buy, we also have rotting of the fruit at the factories. You know, the company also pay for the transportation. So when the fruits have a lot of BBS, then the company will also run at loss in terms of the transportation they convey from the farm gate to the factory. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the quantity you're supposed to buy per season because of the BBS is almost reduced drastically. So we are not getting the quantity you are supposed to get at the end of the season. If all things be equals in terms of climatic condition and other things, last minor season, we're supposed to get around 6,000 tons of mango. But then we only had around 2,000 tons of mango. So I don't know, most of the fruit were affected by BBS and it was dropped down and we didn't get the quantity that you're supposed to get at the end of the season. Again, we also pay their transport of conveying the fruit from the farm gate to the factory. And it's also a cost. I don't say it increased our production costs because the rotten ones need to be removed from the crates before they can also process the quality ones.
A troubled Obed Amevo had a message for the government.
They should just come to our aid. I wish one day the president himself or the Minister of Agric himself will come to the field and see what is happening. He's only hearing the news from his people and all that, but I wish he would come to the field and see how devastating it is for him to come up with a solution. They should just do a research for us and give us a solution, that is all. Other countries have been able to do it. South Africa has been able to do it. Brazil, they are all doing it. They are able to manage it. They are able to bring it to a minimum 2%, 3%. Why can't we do the same thing? Money is being pumped every day into our Agric. Why can't we divert some of that money into this research? They should just come out, just as they have done with other ones like the fruit flies and the anthracnose and all that. They should just come out with something. Just give us a research, pump all the money there and give us a solution. If they want the farmers to contribute towards that, they should come out with something so that we all go into it. We just need solution to the BBS. That is our problem for now. Let us find solution to the BBS, then we'll start looking for other problems like marketing.
In all of this, the Agric Ministry is expected to take a giant step in dealing with the rise of the disease. So I went to the Agric office in Somanya to find out what effort they are putting in to help the farmers. Francis Niklote is the officer in charge of crops development at the directorate.
It is a disease that has been around for some time. And like I will say, as we speak, we do not have an effective control measure. However, we have a management approach, which we've taken a lot of the farmers through, which they are using now. Basically, because it is a bacteria, we normally use the simple disease triangle philosophy. That is, you either have an susceptible host, then we have the virus, the pathogen, and then we have the favorable environment. What we are doing basically in the management is to modify the environment. So we recommend the use of things like copper fungicide, basically. Now, with the application of the copper fungicide, the environment changes, so they are not able to multiply. So it stops the spread of the disease. However, it has also its challenges. Because the copper fungicide is a contact fungicide, what happens is anytime you spray and then it happens to rain, it's wash off. It means that you have to do a repeated spraying to avoid the spread of the disease. So the challenge we are having basically now, one is the high cost of spraying. Because you spray, it rains, you have to spray. On our part, as a ministry or a Department of Agriculture, what we are doing is that we are doing basically training from the very foundation. What we are doing is that we are training the seedling operators. We have a very vibrant mango seedling operators group in the municipal. They produce averagely around 4 to 5 million seedlings per year. So what we do is that since it can be transmitted from the seedlings from one location to other, we ensure that in the production of the seedlings, we take them through trainings that they produce the seedlings under recommended practices. We have the good agronomic practices for nursery operators. So we ensure that first, the seedlings should not be raised under mango trees because they are mango seedlings, so the spores can just drop on. Again, we have given a distance that they should stay away from the plantations. We ensure that they start treatment of the seedlings, the rootstock, with the copper fungicides right from the beginning. And then, when they are going to prepare the grafting material, the scions, what we do is that we ensure that they try as much as possible to identify trees which do not have the disease, or they do treatment of the trees before they pick the grafting material. The major challenge for farmers is that we need to have a mass spraying regime. Now, since it moves from plant to plant, carried by water and rain, if I am in farm A and I decide to spray, the one adjacent to me decide I will not spray, wait in the next 2 weeks. What effectively is happening is that my spray is rendered useless, because once it rains and the wind blows, it will blow the spores and the rest onto my field. So we need a concerted effort, a united front. If just like we have cocoa, where we can have a spraying gang, a spraying team, when it is time to spray, every farmer is spraying. So within a space of a week, everybody sprays, every farm is sprayed. That is, for me, the best way by which we can manage or minimize the incidence of the disease.
For the farmer, the government has been slow to take action, but Municipal Chief Executive for the Yilo Krobo Municipal Assembly, Eric Tete, says they have taken some steps.
So when I assumed office about 5 months ago, I tried to find out what really the problem was. And I realized it was very daunting. And so for me, I realized that we should get to the root cause of it, not just to pay lip service to it. So in my visits to the university, I challenged the university authorities that one of the things that they can do to help our people was to research into this disease, and so that we could find a lasting solution to it. I did so because as we speak now, there is a factory that is being set up here. And this factory hopes to use this mango to do its business. That's not the only project here. The Ministry of Trade has also established what we call this Enable Youth, where they've built, the building is already there, and that they are bringing equipment so that about 30 youth will be selected to manage that place. What are they going to process? They are going to process mango. And so it tells you that mango was going to drive our economy here. And so this disease is a big bother to us. And my encounter with them shows that they need government support. And for me, once we have this tree crop development authority in place, where mango is one of the flagship crops that the government wants to leverage on, I believe that it will not be out of place if the request that they are asking government comes into it. And I believe this government is a listening government. And anything that will be done to ensure that we are able to win this war, we will certainly do it.
Mango is a fruit which can be found in almost all homes in Ghana. In the Somaya area here, majority of the people are involved in mango farming. But there is a devastation on hand. A disease called the bacterial black spot is wreaking havoc on farms in this area. If you look at the mango in my hand, it is just 2 months to maturity, but because of this BBS, it had to be cut down. Farmers say they have complained a lot to the government, but no help seems to be coming to them. It has resulted in most of them regretting that they ever invested into mango farming. They ask the question, till when will government come in? And what must happen before government will see that this is something that needs an urgent attention? It is their hope that government will tomorrow or any moment soon come to their aid, because they are really suffering from this bacterial black spot. It is an urgent need for government to attend to. From Somaya in the Yellow Krobo municipality, my name is Samuel Kojo Brace for Joy News.
Well, so it's time now for us to broaden the conversation here on the polls. Joining me now via Zoom is Davis Krobia, a board member of the National Tree Crop Development Authority. Thank you, sir, for joining us this afternoon on the poll. So, first of all, there's quite some sufficient knowledge that you have into this industry. Tell us about the black spot bacteria and what its effect could be on mangoes generally.
So thank you very much, and let me make some questions. My name is Davis Komo, not Krobia. Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I listened to the documentary, and I felt it is well captured. Yes, BBS, black bacterial spots, for that matter, has been with us for some years now, which of course is devastating most of the farms. As we speak now, most of the people are cutting their trees down, some are selling their farms, etc. And the only remedy we have now is to research into it, and for government, when I talk about government, I'm talking about the Tree Crop Development Authority, to get themselves involved ASAP. What I know that the tree crops is doing, that tree crops, under the Tree Crops Act 1010, their mandates, they work in 4 broad operational areas termed the strategic focus, that's the FFS. One is to research support, 2, production and value chain support, 3, capacity building, and 4, licensing and regulation. So if you look at these 4 strategic areas, BBS call for research, and that is what Tree Crops hopes to quickly do for the farmers. If you look at the production and value chain support, that is where Tree Crop will look at either cut some of the farms, the trees down, and give them how do you call it, support in terms of seedlings and other things to be able to replant. Also give them inputs to be able to combat the, how do you call it, the BBS. As you listen to the people, BBS management is pretty expensive, where you have to spray chemicals, copper to be specific, which is contact. And if it rains, then you have issues that you need to repeat it. Or even though the chemicals are not cheap, you have no choice than to be able to do that if you really want to save your investment, or maybe cut down the losses. I'm using cut down the losses because for investments, as far as BBS is concerned, you can't save it, but then you can cut down your losses. And so once that happens, we are looking at the tree crops coming in, like I said, and we're also looking at the deploying capacity building, which of course most of the farmers for capacity building, they are up there, they know what to do. So for me, it's the financing base and the support, that is the input, which is very critical. And that is what Tree Crops is trying to do. Currently, as we speak, Tree Crop now, they are in Kofodia trying to validate the strategic document to get a cabinet memo on it, then we go to Parliament and other things so that work can begin. But as I said, last year, I know they started some seedling support. This year, for instance, they advertised for another seedling support to be able to cushion the farmers in a way. But the most important thing is how do we fund all these things? And that gets back to Tree Crops, where I know the arrangements are being put in place to be able to help the farmers mitigate their loss. If you ask me, if that is not done ASAP, we won't find mango farms in the next 2 years, because believe you me, the industries are losing because the processors are not getting enough to process, and that has been a problem.
Well, I was just coming to that point, just to find out how long it would take for all of these processes to be exhausted, because the farmers are in dire need of support.
You know, Tree Crops was re-inaugurated just last week, and just after that, we'll be looking at how peculiar and how serious the issues are. The board decided to have a marathon meeting from 1 p.m. through to around 10 p.m. And most of these things were part of the decisions that we're about to take. And that's the more reason why, like I said, as we speak today, the document is being validated for us to move to the next year. And as I am a commercial farmer myself, I am a proper mango farmer. So we on the board are not taking any chances, but the only thing we are doing to push to make sure that within this year something is done. Because for research, I think that, and Obed mentioned it, if you go to Brazil and others, they've done it and it's working. And they've put in a lot of revenue, a lot of money. That is cushioning the farmers and activating process for them to have a game changer. So why are we not doing it here? And the issue here is we are pushing that we get it done ASAP to save issue. Like I said, the processors, currently they even go outside the country to go and source for fruits, which is not the best, because if you look at the mango, there's so many enclaves alone, can produce a lot. Now we have 4 different enclaves. We have the middle belt, we have the northern belt, we have the middle belt and southern belt. That's 3 main enclaves. And we have over 200,000 hectares planted currently. So if nothing is done about BBS, which is a cross-cutting issue across board, the entire nation, then it means we will have issues. We will have unemployment will set in, farming will set in, because people basically will lose their investment, they won't know what to do. So I can assure you that we are pushing hard to make sure that this year something is done about it.
I'm grateful, Davis, that you've been able to join us here on the Pulse. We are still keeping our eyes on food security. The claim by the ranking member on the Food and Agri Committee, Eric Opoku, that Ghana imports tons of cassava and onions from China generated heated debate on the floor of the House, as the Majority Chief Whip, Frank Anokdobere, challenging the MP to back his claim with evidence. But the ranking member insisted that the 2021 budget captured the importation of a number of staples, including cassava, as part of measures adopted by government to shore up the country's food staff. Parliamentary correspondent Parker Wilson joins us with more on this. So, Parker, what's unfolding in Parliament now as we're talking about food security? We also do know that a number of issues are happening on the floor of the House. What more can you tell us?
Blessed, let me just tell you that Parliament just about 10 minutes ago adjourned proceedings for today, and will return tomorrow to continue their business. But on the conversation or the information you talked about earlier about the ranking member on the Food and Agri Committee, that matter was resolved, and this is how it was resolved. Let me tell you this. The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei, who was in the chamber at the time, he said that because this is a House of Records, indeed, the Esunafo South MP must prove. You know, he referenced the budget, the 2021 budget, and referenced a specific page. So the presiding speaker called for the budget, looked at the page, and indeed was established that in the 2021 budget, government had indicated that they were importing cassava. However, they did not tell us where the importation was coming from or where the country we are importing the cassava is from. And so that was where the first deputy speaker had a challenge and asked the House that they expunge the China from the record, because that is a bit misleading. You can say that we are importing cassava, but you cannot add that we are importing cassava from China or Burkina Faso, basically because the budget says so. So that was how it was resolved. They all agreed that indeed the country is importing cassava. Now, shortly after that, you know, there's a big game for Ghanaians on Friday. We are preparing for the World Cup, and Parliament today has thrown its weight behind the Black Stars. In fact, there is a directive from the Speaker of Parliament, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei, that on Friday, every member of Parliament, of course, if you have a jersey representing the Black Stars, whether the red, the yellow, or the white, you can come in your jersey in Parliament as a show of support for our young men who will be battling out with our brothers from Nigeria. And so members of Parliament today talked about how comment on social media and, of course, the media space should be about the ones that would encourage the players. They cited instances where some of the pronouncements that they have made in times past have negatively impacted on the performance of the Black Star. And I must say that about the AFCON performance, Parliament constituted a committee to look into the abysmal performance of the Black Stars during the AFCON. Now, the report, we are told that it was quite damning. However, Parliament has decided to shelve the report because of this game. They want to wait after this game, then they publish the report. They don't want the report to be an excuse where the players will say, because of the report, because of the concerns raised, because of the things that Ghanaians were saying, we were unable to perform. So there's a caution to every Ghanaian going forward that they should be careful of the things they say in social media. And to some of the ex-Black Stars players who have been making some unpalatable pronouncements, Parliament today has cautioned them. Well, they didn't mention any names. All they said was that ex-Black Star players have been making some demoralizing comments, and they are expecting those players, if you're an ex-Black Star player, and of course we know that in recent past, Asamoah Gyan has made some very damning and very controversial comments about the Black Star. So many were thinking that, well, it could be Asamoah Gyan, but Parliament is saying that any other individual, whether ex-player or Ghanaian, should be careful of the things that you say. And away from the chamber, tomorrow we are learning that the finance minister will appear before the House to talk about some austerity measures the government has adopted to ease the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. I have been engaging some of the members of Parliament. In fact, both sides are sharply divided over what the finance minister should say. On the NDC side, they are clear in their minds that whatever the finance minister will be saying will not be innovative, will not solve the problem. He is going to talk about the usual rhetoric, about COVID-19, about the war with Ukraine. But one of the things that they are expecting him to do is to announce the collapse of what they call unproductive ministries. They think that the ministers designated to the office of the president have no business being there. You have sector ministers who are working within the various sectors. You have presidential staffers as well. And so you don't need a minister at the office of the president. What is he doing? The NDC MPs, in fact, Kofi Adams is clear in his mind that these are unproductive ministries and must be scrapped with immediate effect. This will, at least one way or the other, reduce the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian, because when they sit for their allowances and all of that, I mean, it goes into the taxpayers' coffers. The Kwame Abuja raised concerns about the fact that the MP should slash their salaries. He disagrees. There was a proposal by the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma, that as part of measures to cut down on expenditure, there are plans to slash or cut down the salaries of members of Parliament. He is saying that is a total no, outright rejection. This is because NPP MPs are rather on so many boards. And so even if you slash their salaries, they will get some stipends, some allowances from the boards when they attend board meetings. But NDC MPs do not have that luxury of serving on various boards. And so they will be at a disadvantage. And so the proposal that they should slash their salaries is a no-no. Roxy Nelson Dafiamepo accused government of not being consultative enough. In fact, this afternoon, he challenged them to show proof of the engagement they've done after the cabinet meeting. He, in his view, government should have rather engaged the stakeholders, consulted Parliament, consulted other individuals before going for the cabinet retreat. And then they can now encompass or put together all the concerns raised by the ordinary Ghanaian in terms of how to solve the economic challenges at the cabinet retreat. And then they can take a very solid and a bold decision to deal with the problem. But that hasn't happened. Well, he says that this is more like shutting the stables after the horse has bolted. And so tomorrow, the exercise of the finance minister, whether addressing Parliament or addressing the state via his press conference, will not yield the needed result. The NPP side, and I spoke to the Yendi Member of Parliament, Farouk Aliu Mahama, he is clear in his mind that every single measure which should be outlined by the finance minister, very comprehensive, will solve the problem, will lessen the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. They have talked about how they will try and inject some 2 billion into the economy to stabilize the city, also the fuel prices. We are told that he is in talks with the energy ministry to look at how we can reduce it. And also the e-levy, which is very controversial in Parliament. Farouk Aliu Mahama is saying that by the end of March 2020, barely within 2 weeks, the majority caucus have adopted a strategy and they will approve the e-levy by the end of this month. So Ghanaians should prepare their minds, should prepare their psyche that the e-levy will be implemented by the end of March because they will get the needed numbers with the support of the minority caucus to approve the e-levy. I spoke to Collins Adumako Mensah, the Ifeja Kwabre South Member of Parliament. He has raised concerns about NAPCO. He believes that the NAPCO is not really the best, and so if government wants to scrap it, hallelujah, that's fine. But for free SHS, he is warning government against touching or reviewing free SHS, even though the NDC is very strong on the fact that the free SHS should be targeted. The NPP MPs are of the view that the free SHS should be given to every Ghanaian, whether you can afford to pay the fees of your ward or not. Every single Ghanaian who is who is in senior high school should enjoy the free SHS. So these are some of the conversations that have happened in Parliament today. And finally, before I go, the ranking member on the Health Committee,
if the finance minister will touch on that, do we know if the finance minister will touch on the free senior high school policy?
Well, you know that the information minister said that from top to bottom, all the flagship programs are up for review. And so, by extension, you can conclude that if the flagship programs, including free HS, would be up for review because it is part of the flagship programs for the governing NPP. But we are not certain whether indeed the review will touch the free SHS because there are calls across board from civil society organizations, from even their own camp. I spoke to Kennedy Osenyakon, the Member of Parliament for Akim South, and of course the chairman on the Roads Committee. And he was clear that about 7 social intervention, government should scrap it. He talked about free SHS. That was number 1 on his agenda. He talked about NAPCO on agenda. So he is saying that if the Ghanaians are not seeing the benefits and are complaining about hardship, government should suspend it and redirect the revenues to other areas of the economy that will yield a positive result and ease the burden on ordinary Ghanaians. So we are yet to hear the finance minister whether free SHS will be suspended or perhaps will be targeted. So it's 2 ways, either suspension or you target at those who don't have the money to pay for the awards. And then those who can pay now will go in and pay for the award. But finally for me, Blessed, as I mentioned, the ranking member on the Health Committee is asking government to, with immediate effect, halt the testing at Kotoka International Airport, the COVID-19 testing at the Kotoka International Airport. He believes that it's long overdue. Government should focus on those who are arriving into the country, that they are vaccinated. The campaign on vaccination should kickstart again so that people will now go in for the vaccines than testing them for $150, which he believes is on the high side. So these are some of the calls that the minority has made, and these are some of the positions from the NPP side with regards to the expectation of the finance minister coming to the House tomorrow to brief members on some of the austerity measures government has adopted to ease the ordinary Ghanaian from the economic hardship or the crisis currently that we are facing.
Parker Wilson giving us the very latest from Parliament. Be on the lookout for that here on the Joy News channel as we bring you updates tomorrow when the Finance Minister appears in Parliament. A mother consumed by grief and uncontrollable emotion. That was the scene that greeted the Joy News team when we arrived at the family house of the slain Ghana immigration officer. He was gunned down by unknown assailants in the border town of Hamile in the Upper West region on the 22nd of March 2022. Uncle, mother and senior brother to the young Michael Eko Otu described circumstances leading to the death of their son as sketchy because much of the information they have as a family was obtained via social media. Joy News' Walanyo Frank Nyonato earlier in the day visited the family and came through with this report.
This morning, Joy News, we are in the home of Michael Eko Otu, who is a 24-year-old Ghana Immigration Service personnel who yesterday was shot dead by unknown assailants on the border town called Hamle. Wafamacho ubebo din kakra na ya ansani edikan ya bisa mpacho efrose.
Efremi kwesi appear imprim.
Na mpacho woni hwan.
Mene afraban ne papa pinyin.
Na yenyantie se mo ba ne afimu na sen na munya information no.
Okay. Yenya under the bay around 9:20 nim. And I was from there. Me ba parko. We say how? Why then we? And I was say I'm the we shooting. Why then we shooting? It's only immigration. Into why then we shooting? But yante she yada and I pay and I had seen one social media full and I was it to platform do na yehuni today. What's it? Wakujuma. I'm the Wakujuma. Nti Jumam no be shooting. Nti yabani a bit safe in one pain if Nankasa when in being Funa Wahan. Yaba bit when in on a Yabatra air train today and Kwambaba and the yachts in summer. What the baba and a whom Queen of Fado movie.
Na if he
was staying with us here on the Pulse. Now, a circuit court in Cape Coast has sentenced Samuel Mensah, a 32-year-old man who stole a metal slab belonging to the Ghana Post GPS and also some value chambers belonging to the officials there of the Ghana Water Company. And also the court has convicted him for stealing and sentencing him to 18 months in prison. Speaking after the ruling of the court, communications manager of the Ghana Water Company for Western and Central Region, Nana Yao Berima, called on residents where their installations are to help protect such installations to affect challenges with water supply. Richard Kojinyako has more in the following report.
On the 6th of March 2022, Samuel Mensah stole a metal slab covering one of Ghana Water Company's valve chambers at Ankafo in the Central Region. He was arrested, sent to cells, released later but failed to appear before the court. The one who stood surety for him was asked to provide him, and he did provide the accused. On the 8th of March, he was put before the circuit court and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Communications manager of the Ghana Water Company for the Western and Central regions, Nana Yaberima Bania, is appealing to residents to help protect such installations to avert challenges with the supply of water.
The valves enable us to stop water from flowing through the pipe network. For example, there is a burst, and the burst requires that we stop water from flowing through that pipeline. So it is the valve that we operate with throttle so that it will stop the water from flowing through a particular pipeline so the burst can be fixed. So if it happens that the valve is not working, why? Because it's been buried. Somebody, a thief, decided that he would steal the metal slab, and people threw, debris, and the valve is covered, and we are unable to access the valve. It means that that work will delay.
He further explained the danger it poses to motorists and users of the road where the metal slabs have been stolen.
You expose the road users to danger. A child can fall into the pit. A car may even fall into it to cause accident. Somebody may be injured or die or something of the sort. So this is something that we will plead with the public to protect for us. It is an installation of the company, and by extension, the installation of the government. The company is for the government of Ghana. So as you tamper or do something against the company's installations, you are doing something against yourself as a member of this country called Ghana.
Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejunyako, Cape Coast.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. We return shortly after this break. So you're welcome back to The Pulse. Now let's talk about TB, tuberculosis. I'm sure you've heard about that, but not in a long while because of COVID. But there's an ongoing plan just to observe the International TB Day, which is happening in the next 24 hours or less. And one of the institutes, Orum Institute of Ghana, they are actually partnering the TB, the National TB team, to try and intensify education and carry out more activities on that. Fortunate to have Javaina Anaman, who's the Senior Programs Manager, join us here in studio. And also Jom Avalima is the Evaluation Manager there at the Orum Institute of Ghana. It's good to have you gentlemen and lady join us here on The Pulse. Welcome. We've not heard of TB in a while, maybe because of COVID. And a lot of people are asking, what's the status like for Ghana in terms of TB? Maybe let me start off with you, Javaina. What's happening as far as TB is concerned? Taking a look at Ghana as a country, what can you say about our status?
Thank you. Yes, TB, interestingly, has taken a backstage because of the presence of COVID. TB, as I must say that it's still a problem in the country, is a worldwide problem. It is the leading second killer, infectious disease killer after COVID-19. Within the country, Ghana, WHO estimates that we need to be finding about 44,000 cases in a year, but we are not doing that. And COVID has made that worse. I think last year, we were able to find around 13,000 cases instead of the 44,000 cases. And this challenge is huge because the devastating effect of the undiagnosed TB, it's great on the population.
So there are some cases that are even going unnoticed, so we're not even detecting them. Is that the case?
That is the case, because we are supposed to detect around 44,000, as I said, but we are doing about 13,000. And this trend has been with us for I think the past 5 years, but COVID is making it worse, because instead of upping our game, we're rather going down. So that's the problem.
So, Jacob, let's talk about some of the measures that we need to put in place to intensify the awareness and also education on the disease itself. It appears that there are some more persons who don't even know about it, and that's what's surprising about this whole situation.
Yes, that's very true. Tuberculosis seems to have taken the back burner, especially with the advent of COVID-19 and all. if we look at it, COVID-19 and TB seem to have similar characteristics and all, but because of the emphasis on COVID-19 in the heat of the pandemic, it has taken the back burner. However, there are certain initiatives that the National TB Control is taking, which includes the expansion of diagnostic centers using more sophisticated diagnostic equipment, such as the GeneSpect, which is able to give real-time diagnosis for TB and all. There has also been intensification of TB case finding in facilities, where it is expected that people coming to the facility with any symptom of cough are supposed to go through TB screening. There are also advocates within the TB space trying to make TB awareness at the community level, and also within spaces where TB can gain more traction. So there are activities going on, just that due to the pandemic and all,
and since we're talking about COVID, let me come to you, Jabina. Is it the case that some persons may be shying away because if you go to the hospital, well, people may feel that you have COVID and the stigma and everything will start. How about that one?
Yeah, you are right. Because even pre-COVID, TB was highly stigmatized. Right. And so I wouldn't comfortably come to the hospital and you diagnose me and I'm excited. And COVID worsens it because people come to the facilities, the hospitals, and then once I report of cough, you know, the signs and symptoms of TB and cough are almost the same. There is the cough, there is the fever, then there is the weaknesses and all that goes with it. So it's quite similar. So this becomes difficult in diagnosing the disease with concerns of will I be diagnosed with COVID instead of TB? And even COVID itself, you know, the education, and when COVID happened, there was a lot of stigma around COVID as well in the country. So I think this has been the challenge in fighting the disease now. Yes, currently, as Jejom shared earlier on, there's a lot of effort being put in by the national programs to ensure that this stigma and the inhibition to diagnosis is prevented. So we have what we call the bi-directional testing going on in facilities. So now once somebody goes to the hospital and then there is a report of cough, then your sample, that's the sputum that will be taken, some will be tested for COVID as well as TB. In so doing, we would help find them.
Okay, so at least it gives us a clear picture. So you are sure it's not, you're not...
Yes, so we are very sure that it's not COVID that is being picked up as TB or TB that is being picked up as...
Right, Jejom, but what reports are we getting from the health facilities themselves? These are facilities that would obviously deal with someone in this COVID period that will report and say, I think, well, this is not COVID. I'm having symptoms that point to maybe TB. Are the health officials even willing to accept people with symptoms in these times that we find ourselves?
That's a very good question. So just like I mentioned earlier, with the advent of COVID, making tuberculosis screening to even take the back burner, screening for TB has always faced stigma, even within the health facilities. Sometimes it's a bit challenging for the health, because we normally have like units that screen for TB and all. So sometimes there's a stigmatization for even the health workers who take care of these TB clients. But like Jabina mentioned earlier with the bidirectional testing, which is going on now, we are actually making some progress. There was a study that was done by the National TB Program, and actually out of about 207 cases that they did this bidirectional testing, it came out that the 70% of the cases they found were actually TB cases, and just 30% of those cases were that of COVID-19. So TB is actually a big problem in Ghana, just that we have not paid much attention to it. But with the new efforts going on, we are hoping that this can be brought to the fore.
And I think this is a very good time to be talking about it, particularly when we know that there'll be an international observation of the disease itself, just to create awareness and intensify education. But let's also talk about the Aurum Institute and what you're doing to help in that national fight. Jabina, what programs do you have in place that you'll be rolling out in the coming days to support the national effort?
Okay. So the Orum Institute Ghana collaborates with the national programs, TB and HIV, in rolling out healthcare intervention in these two diseases. So concentrating on TB, so far, when we started our work, somewhere in 2018, we did a work on finding the TB cases, and then we're now working on TB preventive therapy, which is one of the key areas that the national programs are looking at. So currently, we are implementing this project in 4 regions, in 12 different facilities.
Okay, 4 regions.
4 regions in 3 different facilities.
Are you able to give some of the regions? That
Yes, so in Greater Accra, Ashanti region, Eastern region, and Western region. And what we do is that we introduce a short course. When I say short course, just a 3-month, once a week dose of TB preventive therapy for key population, people who need it, so that we would, with TB infection that has not developed into active disease, we make sure that we are preventing it. So we've been doing this for the past 2-3 years with the national programs. Aside this particular program, which is going very well, and one of the things that we are calling for in this year's team, that we're asking for more investment in TB, is prevention, because prevention is key. Aside that, there are a lot of activities we lined up for this particular celebration. Because of the work we are doing with facilities, we'll be celebrating with some of the facilities that we work with. We'll be doing facility-based screening in the communities as well, and then we'll be donating some of the logistics that they need to enable them find TB in their near facilities.
And let's explore the preventive measures. J. John, are you able to share with us, because, well, the communities in which you may go to, that's quite localized, but there are a lot of people watching us now who would be very much interested in knowing about the preventive measures, because they are also at risk, right? So what can we say about these preventive measures?
Yes, so TB is an airborne disease. So the means of transmission is through droplets in the air. So when you inhale these droplets, then you get infected by this TB bacteria. So in recent times, with the use of nose masks and all of those infection prevention protocols, it's actually helping with some of these preventive measures that also helps with TB prevention. However, there are some key populations who are at the highest risks, which involves normally people living with HIV and AIDS. In Ghana specifically, we seem to have a huge problem with comorbidity between TB and HIV. Most of our HIV cases actually die as a result of TB. That is why, as an institution, Orum Institute, we are really looking at the TB preventive therapy, which we are introducing the short course therapy for especially this key population, so that when they are put on this medication, it prevents them from actually developing the TB disease. Also, to add to that, Ghana is an endemic TB country. If I say endemic, it means that TB is all around us. If we were to use sophisticated diagnostic equipment to screen most of us will actually will be diagnosed of having TB. However, we've not migrated to the disease states where the disease is actually having an effect on us, because our immunity is good and all of that. That is why for certain key population, like I mentioned, like people living with HIV, seems to be a big problem. So the focus is on those key population, trying to help them so that they do not develop the active form of the disease.
How about research to help us understand the dynamics of the disease? Javina, is there anything that you have rolled out to at least give us a scientific basis of how the disease works and how possibly people could prevent it?
As an institute, we work, it's a South African-based organization. Okay. And before we brought in even this TB preventive therapy, it was actually a research that was conducted. Oh. So this project is being done in about 11 other countries. Okay,
so this is a research-driven project. You're not just getting up to do this, right?
No, we are not. It's a research-driven project, right, where the key medicines that we are using, isoniazid and rifampicin, they are the key medicines that are used in treating TB. but then we combine duration and also the strength to ensure that these key population Jojo mentioned are being prevented, put on the medication for the prevention as well.
It's good that you're talking about treatment, because there are some who may be diagnosed, and obviously treatment, there are concerns about the cost, and also those who would be looking for the main facilities to visit. Are there some interventions you're putting in place to educate people on the treatment, particularly? I mean, that sharp focus on helping people to get out of the condition.
Yes, so as a program, we work, as I told you, in collaboration with the national programs and other key CSOs in TB care. And some of the thing we do is the community level advocacy, where we put in measures at community level to ensure that people are getting educated. Community members are informed about the provision and availability of the treatment in all healthcare facilities. We also call people into action to ensure that the healthcare facilities are providing the care that they need in treatment. I must say, treatment in Ghana for TB is free. The government is bearing that cost. We are being funded under the Global Fund as a country, supported, and the government is really bearing the cost of some of this treatment. It is free, and healthcare facilities that provide the TB care do not charge anything for it once a patient is diagnosed with TB.
Right, I'm sure that you have your final words for our viewers. Let me start off with you, Jejon.
Okay, so our theme for this year is to invest in TB, right, and save lives. So we are trying to re-emphasize that this particular theme for this year. We need all stakeholders to come on board. We need to push in more funds towards the support of TB care. Just to end with that, with some statistics, in the 18 months of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, there has been commitment of funds of $100 billion committed to support COVID-19 and it. But over the same period, the commitment made for TB is just around 170.
So you want it to be scaled up?
Yes, so we need something like that.
And for you, Japina?
So yes, we are saying that invest more in ending TB. We are calling all on board, the media houses, the population, everyone to be on board. As government invests, we ask in our own way, we should all invest in ending TB.
I'm grateful, Javina and Jejon, for joining us. And you out there, also, you need to support the TB movement. But don't forget that the emergence of COVID-19 saw many activities conducted online. Pupils who hitherto would have stayed for a few hours online, browsing and playing their favorite games, now had the option of staying online for long, even when schoolwork was over. According to the National Cybersecurity Authority, these prolonged hours online heightened children's exposure to online dangers. There's more in the following report.
According to the Cybersecurity Authority, lack of monitoring and exuberance of children to explore the internet exposed them to the threats, making some of them vulnerable. Team lead Alex Opon says if this is not checked, the children will fall prey to cyber bullies and other cyber crimes which can endanger their lives.
Last couple of years we've been battling with the COVID pandemic. And that meant that a lot of people had to stay at home and use in the internet technology for e-learning. And besides that, it's meant that the children in question, the children that have been using these technologies, have also become very, very savvy in using it for other things like communication, like gaming. But within the communication and the gaming and interacting with other people outside their normal space of their home, there are also dangers out there, and those are the dangers that we are trying to also buy per the Act. We're trying to sensitize and criminalize as much as possible so that, one, people are deterred from committing those kind of crimes, like sextortion, like cyber stalking, like trying to groom a child online and all of that. It's all captured within the Act. And then those are the kind of things that we are trying to make sure that when the child goes online, they feel protected, they feel safe, in the same way that they will normally feel safe around their own parents.
He wants parents to be extra vigilant and report such activities when they notice them, reiterating that they have the capacity to deal with such acts.
There are reports coming through, but it could be better. It could be better because it's, and that's where we need to identify, and through the help of civil society organizations. We're able to establish whether it's a matter of whether people recognize that they've been abused online, or it's a matter of they just don't know where to report to. And so we are reaching out to them and saying that, look, for the people that you interact with, just remind them, if anything at all, just remind them of the numbers 292, so that they can report these cybercrime and cyber security incidents, and so that the Cybersecurity Authority can basically make sure that these incidents are investigated, and if it goes to court, even better.
Executive Director of Child Online Africa, Wo Amenya, who acknowledged that the children cannot be prevented from using the internet, advocated for stakeholders, including CSOs, to intensify education on cyber security in order to protect vulnerable groups.
To have the law, but it's not enough to just have the law sitting on our shelves and things like that. There's a lot that needs to be done with the law, just to make people aware of what it is. So for me, yes, it's good to have the law, it's good to educate people on it, but then we want to see the implementation. At the moment, we need education for parents. Education for parents, because communication is very, very crucial. So if parents understand their role in protecting children, they know that they have to be available for children to put their heads on their shoulders. Should they find something bad online, then we'll be heading somewhere. But if parents are ignorant, we go about educating teachers or policymakers, or even people who don't even work with children. Chances are that we'll just be wasting resources.
For as long as there are challenges persisting in the implementation of the Cybersecurity Act, reporting an act of online child abuse is the first step to protecting children. Michael Ashale's report for JoyNews.
And back here in the studio, there are calls for increased research to unravel and monitor trends directly linked with natural disasters in Ghana. And it is intensifying as the world marks International Meteor Day. As we know it this year, experts say forecasts of what the weather will be are no longer enough. So here in our part of the world, the activities of the Ghana Meteorological Agency comes into a sharp focus. And fortunately, joining us in studio is Felicity Ahiafianyo, who is the Chief Meteo Officer, joining us to have a discussion on this. It's good to see you here in studio.
Thank you.
Tell us, first of all, about your mandate and what you do at the Ghana Meteo Agency.
Yes, thank you so much. Our mandate for Ghana as Ghana Meteorological Agency, we are to provide anything that has to do with the weather, the rain, the pressure, the soil moisture, and every other thing that has to do with something that is falling in terms of clouds, in terms of rain, and then other things. And then we are also mandated to provide aviation forecast to the aviation industry, and then to also advise the government on policies that will best help the Ghanaian.
And as the global efforts intensifies, we know that obviously experts are now saying, let's not do the usual thing, telling us about the forecast, but also give us the impact aspect as well. How are you implementing reforms, and how are you going about it at GMET to ensure that you meet the international standards and where we are heading to as a global community?
Yes, with us at Ghana Meteorological Agency, our forecasters have been trained on how to really do the accurate forecast and be able to tell you that this rain that is coming is likely to cause havoc. For instance, it's likely to cause flood. So you as a citizen, you can now prepare and then avoid that. And then also, like this year, we are saying that we are anticipating low rainfall over certain areas. So likely there may be longer dry spells within the season. So definitely the government or the agri sector need to take it up and then implement it by maybe introducing irrigational processes that will help the farmers to also carry out their daily activities when it comes to farming other things. So then we have links with the other international bodies that are coming down to Ghana Meteorological Agency to train. And then we open up a whole lot of things that we are doing to help the Ghanaian society.
I'm sure that you've heard the criticism before, the concerns that your forecast, well, they don't really work. I'm sure that you've heard that, right?
Yes,
this is not new, so
no.
I'm bringing it back to you.
It's not new. And
how do you react to all of
it's
these
not
things?
only in Ghana.
Right.
You go to UK, you go to USA, it's all over the place. So it's something that the World Meteorological Organization is trying as much as possible to bring in that 100% accuracy.
What normally accounts for that?
You see, when it comes to the atmosphere, it's very, very complex. We have thermodynamics or the dynamical processes that goes on. You have an air passer that is moving, you know, and the temperature may change depending on the environment that it finds itself. So you see that from the junction to the studio, the junction is warm, so the air passer that is moving enter here is cold. So definitely it will have an impact on it. So if we don't have enough gadget to be able to determine, to link the two differences in the temperature, in the pressure, the wind speed and direction, the geopotential and every other things, then it becomes much, much difficult. That is why most of our things are now based on satellite, based on models, long-term means and other things to be able to. We are not perfect, but now I think
so now you're improving the system. So what we're likely to see is that you're changing how you go about your forecast?
Yes, so for our forecast now, we are issuing 3 times in a day. So it's now left to us as citizens to make sure to make a time with it. We have in the morning, in the afternoon, and then in the evening forecast. And then for the whole week, we have a forecast for you. So you know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, how it will be. So if you take the week, you know when the rains will come. Then the daily now comes to tell you that the time, so by 2 p.m. there should be rain over Joy, or there should be rain over Circle, there should be rain over Bensu or Abetifi or so wherever. So that is what we are doing. Then we have the sub-seasonal, that's the 2 weeks. We have the monthly, and then we have the seasonal forecast that has to do with the farmers. That's the 3 months, that's 90 days. So within that too, we also have to tell them that, okay, this is the exact date that you should start planting. And then between this, maybe mid-July to August, we are expecting dry spells. So this time, try and prepare for irrigation.
Okay. So since you're talking about farmers, there's this report that we received from your outfit indicating what the rain patterns will be for this year. The concern is that that's likely to affect agricultural activities. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's accurate.
Something that
is our seasonal forecast for this year, 2022.
So we don't have to expect a lot of
rain. No, the much rain over certain areas, like the East Coast, part of Greater Accra and part of Volta region. The start is going to be a bit late. And then the rainfall is also going to be a bit lower than expected. Then some of the areas will have the normal rainfall season that we normally do. And you could attest that since March, we couldn't get much rainfall this year over Greater Accra. So likewise, some areas over the Volta region. But if you move to Ashanti region, part of Volta, and then part of BA, those areas, they are getting rain. Some have started getting it on daily
So they would have the normal season.
They will have the normal season.
But then this would mean there'll be an impact on agricultural activities. That's what you're focusing.
Yes, that's what we're focusing.
But how about floods as well? Flooding in Accra is of great concern. Do you have any projections on that too?
Yes, we also have projections. So definitely when the rain sets in, the ground is saturated, then we should expect floods.
Are we expecting more downpours as we experienced last year? I guess that's the concern now. So people can prepare, people can adequately put in place some measures to deal with that.
That is what we are saying, that we are expecting normal. So definitely there will be 1 or 2 downpours that will cause floods if our gardens remain choked. Yes.
So now it's mostly about the preventive measures, because the natural activities we cannot control that necessarily.
Definitely.
But going forward, what's the future looking like for GMET, and what are some of the changes that we'll be seeing going forward in the public?
Going forward, we want to be more visible. We want to do the location forecast. That's a tailor-made forecast to the general public. And then we want to be 100%. And then we want you, the media, to come on board and be telecasting the forecast for us on or maybe throughout us. They do it in UK every 30 minutes. When they are into the season, they do it every 15 minutes. You have the weather report. So if you can also help us at least 3 times in a day, will be cool for us so that the Ghanaians can prepare themselves for that.
I need to say at this point, happy GMET Day or happy Meteor Day, whichever way it is. Thank you so much.
Yes, I also want to wish every staff of Ghana Meteorological Agency happy World Meteorological Day. It has not been easy going out there in the rain. They go out there.
Oh, they go out in the rain?
Yes, they run night shift too. So while some are sleeping, they are working every hour. The airport stations do every 30 minutes. You have to go and take the readings. They showed we are wishing ourselves happy Meteor Day. Be happy, things will be very, very well for us.
Well, and we all wish you the best here at Joy News. This is The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you more, including sports. Stay with us. And that's all we have for you in this package of The Pulse. My name is Blaise Ogan. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com for more updates. Up next is Let's Talk Showbiz.